Good afternoon, my friends, and welcome to this very special video. In today's video, we're going to celebrate the art of one of the ex-CD Projekt Red employees. About a week ago, Reddit discovered that Anna Podedworna, I think, has left CD Projekt Red and moved on to different companies to work her artistic magic over there. And you may recognize her as an artist from Gwent. She does a lot of the card illustrations for some of our favorite characters, and I really want to celebrate her time in Gwent. I actually wanted to do this before I even found out she'd left. I remember saying it on one of my streams, but it's an excellent time to do it now, I think. So I got in contact with her, so I've got some things to discuss, which are hopefully interesting, and also we're going to look at some of my favourite pieces and some of her favourite pieces and stuff like that. So first of all, Anna has been working in CD Projekt Red for quite a while. I mean, she worked on The Witcher 3 Gwent. She actually did the victory and defeat illustrations for The Witcher 3 Gwent, which means she's been here for quite a long time. And I don't quite know just how long she's been here either, which is quite interesting. Anna would later go on to win one of the Into the Pixel pieces, which is an exhibition of some of the best art within the industry. And she'd actually go to win it with one of her Gwent pieces, and that was Ida Emine. So it was mentioned that the character Ida was not really that prominent in games and books of The Witcher, but it was a bit of a mixed blessing in that respect, because she wasn't focused and stuck being very rigid on what she could do, but it also meant there wasn't a lot of specific information about the character. But she actually chose an excerpt from Baptism of Fire to focus this piece on, and Ida Emine, which was an elven sorceress, during an audience shrouded herself by an invisibility spell when she materialized in a corner in a library. The ocelots only reacted with a slight widening of eyes. Like all cats, they could see what was invisible and could not be deceived by a simple spell. So you can see how that particular excerpt really influenced this particular piece, which I thought was just a really nice story behind it. So one of the really cool things that I've only just discovered after researching this particular video is to do with one of my all-time most favorite cards, and it really makes my heart sing to read this story. It's related to the Vran Warrior. It's one of my all-time favorites, and would you know it, is actually illustrated by Anna herself, which is a nice coincidence for this video. But if you remember back to the first original standalone version of Gwent, we used to have row-locked units, and the Vran Warrior was a 7-strength ranged locked unit. Okay, so it was such a bad card that's why I became attached to it, and I like it so much. And I used to joke about how good the card was. It used to be a 7-strength ranged unit which was immune to Biting Frost. And the reason for that is because it was locked on the range row, and Biting Frost could only hit the melee row at that particular point. So I used to joke that it had Biting Frost immunity. Right? Even when Geralt Ard come in and he could push you back to the siege row, you couldn't pull them forward. There was no movement forward on the board. So it kind of still had that Biting Frost immunity, sort of. But in an interview with Anna, I actually read something that was really, really funny to me. So the question was, Ida Emine is one of the many pieces you've worked on in Gwent. Do the card's intended power or abilities in the game have any impact on the art process or your portrayal of the characters or creatures? And the answer to this is I really like it. So our designers and writers help us by gathering information on the characters and items for the card art, or by preparing a brief for the illustrators. Sometimes the design and abilities of the card factor into the illustrations, and sometimes they don't. I actually think Geralt Igni would probably be a great example of this. In some instances, the abilities of the card change from the original design. One such example is my illustration of the Vran Warrior card, which depicts a humanoid lizard atop a snowy mountain of all places. The reason for this was very simple. Originally, this card was intended to be immune to the Biting Frost weather effect. Over time, the design changed, so now we're left with a giant lizard man freezing his tail off on the snowstorm. Because of situations like this, we prefer to have illustrations loosely inspired by the card's abilities or gameplay mechanics. It's better when the art is more universal and not weirdly specific. So I would just like to say to Anna, don't worry. The Vran Warrior was immune to Biting Frost for a very long period of time due to its row-locked ability. And I just find that a really humorous, funny story about my love for the Vran Warrior and the jokiness about its weather immunity or Biting Frost, and the fact that that's how it was designed. So I think that's really funny. So an interesting piece of information here is that Anna has only done illustrations for one Gwent leader card, and that leader card is Morvran Voorhees, which is pretty interesting. But when asked, will she still be doing freelance work for Gwent in the future, she had no idea. At the minute, her plate is quite full. She's working full-time with a particular studio, and she's doing freelance for 2 other collectible card games. Now, she didn't mention what those collectible card games were, but it might just be worth keeping your eye out for Anna Podedworna's name in other card games. I'm not entirely sure whether Hearthstone, whether Artifact actually reference artists when you look at the cards. But it's worth keeping your eye out for her name in other card games. So according to Anna's ArtStation page, I will put a link in the description because it's definitely worth looking. She posts a lot of her Gwent artwork on here. According to this, now I don't know if it's actually true, but one of her first pieces of Gwent artwork that is uploaded onto here is Hemdell, one of the most badass Gwent cards that has ever existed. So it's a really fitting tribute to be the first one that she possibly might have done. I just really like this piece of artwork because it just shows, I don't know why, this bit up here with the extra handle to really signify it's a massive two-hander that has a lot of power just really makes me feel the power of the sword, even though the stance is pretty, what would you call it, melancholic. It's kind of got a power to it, but also a sadness to it in some respects, which I just think is really, really well done. So I went through and actually looked through every single piece of Gwent artwork from old versions and new versions to see which had her name on them. And I missed a couple because some of them are specific to like Thronebreaker situations, like Bark Ice we saw from the ArtStation page a moment ago. And there are some tokens as well. Harold's friends, Wilhelm, Wilmar, and Wilfred, they're all Anna's work, which is really cool because that's one of my favourite sort of interactions too. But I did notice she has actually quite a lot of Saskia. In fact, I think she did every single version. She did the Synthesis, she did the Synthesis Blaze, and she also did Saskia. So I just thought that was a thing. She actually seems to do dragons quite a lot. She also did Villain Trettenmirth, which is another dragon. She did the Phoenix, which is another type of dragon. You know, so she did quite a lot of dragons. And that I'm actually wondering, this isn't a question I asked, and I wish I had, whether when they get do they get a choice of what particular card they like to do? Do they just put a list of these are all the cards that need doing and you just choose one you want, and she really favors doing dragons? Or do you think she gets given you need to draw this card? I think it'd probably be better if they get to choose, right? But I just think it's very interesting that she actually chooses to do a lot of dragon-y type cards. Also the Vran Warrior, which is kind of a dragony type of thing. So one question I did ask though was how long it takes to do a piece of artwork for Gwent, and her reply was 5 days, and in business working hours that's 40 hours, she says, to finish one piece, which I think is a long time. It feels like a long time, but I probably just don't know how long it would normally take. She says it's 1 day for sketching, 1 day for light setup in grayscale, 1 day for deciding on colours and mood, and then the last 2 days for refining the details. Now she's done over 90 illustrations for Gwent, and so by the end she says she gets pretty efficient. So that's 5 days, 40 hours of efficient work, which is crazy to me. I mean, it definitely shows the artwork is top notch, but I guess I'm baffled by, you know, how long it takes to do one particular piece of artwork, which is crazy, you know, but definitely looks good. So I also asked this question, which I think is probably an obvious one, but does she have a favorite character or piece of artwork that she's produced for Gwent? And she says, and I quote, obviously it has to be Knickers. It might not be my best piece of work when it comes to composition or technical skill, but it was just a pure joy to paint this little guy. He definitely is the goodest doggo. Knickers is a fan favorite, I think. And to be honest, she does quite a few fan favourites. I've already mentioned my Vran Warrior. It's probably not in the same league. But she's also done Roach, which I think is a fan favourite for a lot of people. She did the new Glusty Warp, and I'm a big fan of Glusty Warp. I really like the sort of insectoid style to it. I really like that a lot. She did everyone's absolute favourite card, Imlerith Sabbath. nothing wrong with that card. I mean, I wonder if she didn't know what she was doing. She was innocent. She didn't realize what this card would become when she drew it. You know, so she's done quite a few of our favorite cards, but her favorite one is Knickers, and that might be the favorite for a lot of you people too. So just looking through all her pieces, I can't possibly show all of them to you, but she's done some from the very early stages, like Geralt Igni, the prize-winning cow, Roach, as well as Ciri, Scorch as well. Some of these really classic ones that are just so identifiable, and really a lot of them haven't changed for the entire course of the game, you know, the 2+ years we've been here. But she's also done some of the more newer things like Meve Longsword from Thronebreaker, Ulfhedin, the Phoenix, these newer style of cards. She has also taken a hand in as well. So she has left CD Projekt Red now, and like I mentioned, doesn't have any plans to do any freelance for Gwent. So I feel like we are going to miss her artwork for a while at least, unless they start to outsource. But it's a shame, but I think it's worthwhile just saying your thanks, possibly in the comments below. I'll email her and send her the video link with all your feedback. But I'd like to say thank you for these great pieces, great memories, great connections I have. I mean, I definitely think we've all got connections to like Knickers and Roach. I've got a massive connection to Vran Warrior as well. So the artwork transcends just images, you know, the actually connection with Gwent, it starts to form a bond, and she's definitely been part of that for me. So thanks to Anna. Hope you say thanks to Anna as well. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this video. Take care of yourselves.